Welcome to day 3 of week 9. So, you're going to get your next programming assignment today. And this programming assignment is just going to involve copying an existing one. But you will get extra credit if you modify it and make it a little bit different. Okay? Just listening to sea shanties is lit. Cool. I'm glad you guys liked it. Just wish you could have been told how to do it for the forecoloring of the map. Yeah. It's a puzzle. That's the, you know, that's the whole point of computer science, right? Rather than having somebody tell you how to solve something, you got to figure it out. So there's definitely a method to it, but it was small enough that if you just kind of brute force it, you could still probably get to it. All right, so let's talk about your next homework assignment first, and then we'll start talking about the next social issue in computer science. All right, so here we go. Have you guys heard of a game called Space Invaders? Let's see if I can pull up a video of it. This was a classic video game from late 70s. So popular in Japan that they actually called arcades, Invader Studios or something like that. So it's a game in which you've got aliens, and you've got a little spaceship down here, and the spaceship down here is you. And you shoot at the aliens. The aliens move back and forth. And the whole thing was done by one person. The programming, the art, all of it was done by one person. And so you can do it all yourself. This is what it looks like. And the good news is there are step-by-step instructions on how to do it. In fact, this is the whole thing right here. So it's probably smaller than your story. Unless you did a really short story. So your rocket ship is going to... so remember in Scratch, I'll put together a new studio for that. Can you do it on a TI calculator? Remember in Scratch, you can have different programs attached to different bits of artwork. Okay, so search for spaceship. Okay. So you can have a rocket ship thing, and then you can make it on the rocket ship so that. Snap that over here. So make the video over here. So you make it so the rocket ship will move when you. Let's shrink this thing down. Probably also a little bit. Size 58. Let's write down here. So. We're going to have, I guess, 3 events to begin with. The first event is when the green flag is clicked. The second one is when the left arrow is pressed. So when the left arrow is pressed, then move the rocket ship to the left. Move, change, X, by -10. Again, you kind of have to take an algebra to do programming. algebra relies heavily on programming, right? Or programming relies heavily on algebra. So right arrow, when the user hits the right arrow key, we will change x by 10. And then you can see right arrow, left arrow, easy as that. Okay, so you don't have to just have things happen when the green flag is pressed. You can also have other events that will trigger whenever they press that key. Okay, so you're going to make it so you can move that rocket ship around like that, and then make it so that when you hit play, it sets the score to 0, sets the number of lives to 3, and then keep going until you die. And so basically, you know, just copy the code here, okay, to begin with. So if you touch an alien or you touch a bomb, they drop a bomb on you. You lose a life, and you explode. You pause a second, and then it goes back to the regular costume again. Okay, and so that's the rocket ship. So the game will continue until your lives hits 0, and then when lives hit 0, everything comes to a stop. And that's it for the rocket ship. The laser. When you hit the space key, so you're going to add another sprite for the laser. So you're going to find some sort of artwork. You might have to upload some artwork for it. If not, you can just use that. So make it when the space key is pressed. So in Scratch, you can have programs on the different artworks, right? So when the space key is pressed, then it will show itself. It will go to the rocket ship. And so repeat until is a loop. And so whenever you have a loop, that means repeat something, do it over and over again. Make it shoot stars, that's a good idea. Again, add Star Wars music to the background, that's also a good idea. Yeah. Anything like that. Is worth X credit. And when you submit your studio to me, make sure that you have your name on the project. That, like, when you click on C project page here, so this would be Space Invaders. Get the project page. Let's save first. There you go. By Kearney, right? Make sure you have your name on it, otherwise you're not going to get credit for it. I don't know who, blah blah blah, is, I don't know who your username is. Okay, and then you can add it to the studio once again as well. Okay, so the laser will repeat until it hits either the edge of the screen or it hits an alien. So how do you do that? All right, well, I do the OR first. So you can see the OR is green here. So do you remember how we talked about truth tables? So if it is hitting either a alien or the edge of the screen, then, okay, so you just drag out an OR, plug that into the hole there, and then you can see these things here are blue. Sensing, so touching either the edge, or now we need an alien first, so we'll add an alien. What the heck was that? Yeah, it looks like an alien to me. Okay. Shrink that one down too. Using the size thing here. So the... And we'll not name you Potion, you will be Laser. And you will not be Goalie, you will be Alien. So if you either touch the edge of the screen or touching Alien, and then you can just drag that whole thing into the middle here. You have to make sure it highlights. This could be, yeah. It's the left edge. You see that? So when the left edge touches, it highlights. Drag that in there. Repeat until, okay. So until it hits something, it will just move forward every frame. Change X by 10. Change Y by 10. Okay. And when it hits something, it will just hide itself. Okay, so if we hit play now, you can see we can fire a projectile. Okay. So that's how easy this assignment is. Okay. So you're basically just gonna copy a program, and then once you finish it, share it with the studio that I'm going to create for you guys, and that's it. When you share it with me, I'll post a link for it in Canvas as well. So in order to submit the assignment on Canvas, you have to give me the link to your project. That way, if it doesn't get attached to the studio again, which happened to a lot of people last time, then I'll have a link that way. But when you submit the link on Canvas, just tell me if you did anything cool. If you added anything to this that's cool, you'll get extra credit. Okay. So the minimum is just copying this. You can see I've already, I don't know, not quite halfway through. But that's how quickly you can do it. Okay, and so I'll post the link in Discord right now, and that'll of course be on the Canvas link as well. Okay, any questions about this? Why am I just making you copy a program? Well, one of the best ways of learning something is to copy. Okay. In academia, that's called plagiarism. And can it be something else than aliens? Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the hell this is, but it might be an alien. I don't know. When will it be due? It'll be due in a week. So, plenty of time. It's probably less than an hour's work. Be really creative. Yeah, do cool stuff. I don't know, make a triple shot, Like if you ever played Galaga, you can get two. They can capture your vessel. Nope. So they can capture your vessel, and then if you free your vessel, you can get two of your spaceships on the screen, which is kind of fun. Galaga was neat. Definitely an upgrade on the Space Invaders formula. Okay. So, have fun with it. At a minimum, just copy it and submit it. That'll be an A. It's easy. What kinds of things can be extra credit for this? Anything, Mary. Okay. The core, code should be there. Don't make another story and call it extra credit. Yeah, but submit it by the link in Canvas and share it in the studio with the name in the comments box. Yes, yeah. So I do not want anyone's submission missing this time, because that was not fun. Okay, so look forward to a link for that. All right. Do you make a new one or you copy the programming? You copy the programming, and then if you want to do something cool on top of that, you can. Don't just clone somebody else's project, because that's lame. I want you to go through the process of making this. Okay? I want you to, drag you out each of these things. You could probably find somebody's Space Invaders and clone it. Don't do that. Okay. Our last scratch, I got no points, but I don't think I put my name. Is that why? Yeah. I've said in the chat here, just message me on Discord, send me a link to your project, and I'll give you the points. Yeah. I don't know who XXX Higgs boson 420 XXX is. Like, I don't know. I'm not saying that's your username. Just most usernames. I sometimes I can guess. But yeah, if you got a 0 and you did it, then you need to message me on Discord, and I'll fix the grade for you. Okay. Yeah, I want you to go through the process. Yeah, exactly. I want you to do the process of making it, and you don't have to. Yeah, the way that I learned how to like most programmers, I would say most programmers learn how to program by observing other programs, and if it's too big and too complicated, like if you showed me even today the source code for Microsoft Windows, I'd be like, I have no idea, dude. It's way too big and way bigger than my small poor brain can comprehend. It's like, nah, it's not gonna help. But if you showed me the source code for, I don't know, a video game that I've played a lot, then and I'm really familiar with that video game, yeah, I don't know, I'd probably start digging into it and figuring out where things are. I don't know, it's like Red Dead Redemption 2, all right, where's that code for doing lassos, and see how they do a lasso and maybe modify it so that it works a little better or something, and so this will give you that experience of being of learning through looking at other people's code, and then once you understand it, go beyond, right? So after you've copied the Space Invaders from this website here, step by step, modify it, add more aliens, different aliens, add triple shot, whatever, 2 spaceships. Okay. That is your homework assignment. You'll have a week to do it. Hope you guys had fun doing the 4-coloring assignment. The purpose of the 4-coloring assignment was to show you that we don't need to go into it, but it was to show you, well, kind of to teach you what to teach you what it is. One of the best ways of understanding a problem is to try and solve it, right? So the 4-color assignment made my brain hurt. Who had the fastest time, though? There were a number of people with sub 10 minutes times. You couldn't screenshot the finished map. It took me to the end screen. Just send me the end screen. It's fine. Okay. But yeah, it's that's computer science is problem solving. All right, puzzle solving almost, and different fields have different puzzles. So, for example, when I was in grad school, facial recognition was a thing, and starting to be a thing. It was hard; it wasn't very accurate, and so, we're talking about ways of how do you recognize people's faces. Maybe you just estimate the distance between the different facial features, but what if somebody rotates their eyes, and then their eyes are closer together, right? If you're at an angle, and so you have to figure out what angle their face is at and how far away it is, because if it's further away, it's smaller, and some people just use neural nets, and Some people use these things called eigenfaces that try to match sort of iconic faces. So it's like you're 50% face B and 20% face F and 10% face Z, and so, your ID would be based on what proportion of which of these iconic faces you are. There are a lot of interesting approaches. And that's, what we would talk about in grad school. It's like, all right, we got this problem, we got this puzzle we need to solve. How do we do it? And people just pitch out different ideas. And it's not like, we came up with the eigenface idea. Like, that was a paper we read. But that's what you do. You'd go through papers and read different ideas and think about it and talk about it. And, computer science oftentimes is very collaborative and very social, which is unexpected for people who consider computer scientists to be sort of these antisocial, isolated people that just sit at home in front of their computer all day, which I guess technically I do, because coronavirus. One of the things that I try to emphasize is that computer science is actually usually, it doesn't have to be, it's usually pretty collaborative. Like if you look at one of my friends who was at Microsoft programming, he's got essentially Discord open. They used Slack. It's kind of think of it as the same thing as Discord. They got Discord open. He's talking with his group, kind of like how you guys are chatting in class right now. They would be talking like, hey, what about this idea? What about that idea? And they're just working together, and he's programming and he's talking, and that's pretty normal. See, Shanty Workshop is due at midnight. Yeah. Okay. The antisocial nerds I met are some of the nicest and coolest people I know. Well, yeah. So, don't get me wrong, there are some antisocial, but that's true in every field, If you want to talk about medicine, there's definitely some antisocial doctors out there, When will corporate censorship be graded? I've been going through it, like a fair number of them have been graded, but peer review is due on Monday, so that's when your actual grade is due. So if you have a 10 right now, don't rest on your laurels and not do the peer review, because then it'll drop down to a 5. So, yeah, and so all the deadlines are always on Canvas, by the way. So, like for the peer review, it says it's due a week after the deadline on Canvas. Okay, so let's talk about the next big issue in computer science. And this has been very hot in the news, speaking of facial recognition. So there have been a number of interesting papers published recently on algorithmic bias. Okay, so people think that because something is a program, it can't have bias in it, right? And so this article here, and I can actually link all these for you guys so you have stuff to read. Just because something is in a computer program doesn't make it unbiased or doesn't make it fair or whatever. Because you can always incorporate bias into a program. Sometimes the bias is unintentional. Probably most of the time it's unintentional. But like this article here is about criminal. There's a program that nobody has the source code to, except the company that makes it, I guess, that is used to assess which one of these people is going to be more likely to commit a violent crime in the future, right? And so, it cherry picks a little bit, which pretty normal in journalism, to cherry pick stories. Here's a story about Brisha Borden, who stole a bicycle, and the program flagged her as a high risk for a violent crime, with an 80% chance that she'll commit a violent crime in the future. She had 4 priors, 4 juvenile misdemeanors, and then this guy here was said to be a low risk for violent crime, 30% chance. If that's what the number means, I don't know if that's exactly what it means, but let's say it's a 30% chance. He had 2 armed robberies, 1 attempted armed robbery, And then after he was let go, basically, or given a lighter sentence because he was considered a low risk, he went on to commit grand theft. Let's just say it's Grand Theft Auto, just because there's a video game named after it, right? And she, of course, did not go on to commit anything. Now, this is cherry picking, right? Like you're just picking one case, and you can always find a case where, you know, something's going to be misclassified or something. But the article does go into stats, right? And so I'm tolerant-ish of cherry picking if you get into statistics. So 2 years later, we know the computer algorithm got it exactly backwards. Again, cherry picking fallacy. But down here, they do stats, and so they did the work on it. So I'm tolerant-ish of the cherry picking. We obtained the risk scores assigned to more than 7,000 people, and they followed up to see if the predictions of if they would commit a violent crime were accurate. And only 20% of the people that were forecasted to do violent crimes went on to do so. Now, one question that I have, these are people arrested, okay? And then they're given a risk score, and this is used by sentencing, right? So, you know, the judges would be like, yeah, let's see. Down here, there's a judge who actually rejected a plea deal, which is weird because, you know, plea deals are usually just rubber stamped. A judge would reject a plea deal because the person had a high risk of committing a violent crime, right? And so these things are actually used in sentencing. And so the question I have is, if you have 7,000 people arrested and the people of high risk are thrown in jail, they're probably not going to be able to commit another violent crime, right? So, right? Like, you know, maybe they had a low risk of committing a violent crime because they were in prison. You know what I mean? So, you know, I would need to actually dig into the study and find that out. This is how critical thinking works. You know, so cherry picking aside, it makes for a good story. Like, I don't really care. You know, the question is, you know, did they, you know, how does the methodology actually work? Okay. So the algorithm gave score, yeah, and nobody knows how the algorithm works except the company that makes it, which is a problem, right? Because if you're going to be literally sentencing people to jail, right, versus walking free, which I believe he was, Braden. Yeah, Borden was not changed. He was serving an 8-year prison term. Okay, it's not Grand Theft Auto. Dang it. Stealing electronics. Grand Theft PlayStation. Right? Like if you're going to be sending people to jail on these things, wouldn't it be a good idea to know if, like, it worked? Wouldn't it be a good idea to know how it works? You know? Like, look at the source code. Because the source code is not available to it. And you're literally sending people to jail based on some company's, you know, say so, right? And so the company says it is not biased against black people. This article here disagrees. This article says it is. So how can you tell? Well, you can either look at the outcomes of it, which is what they're doing here. They're looking at, they got the data on 7,000 people arrested in Broward County, Florida, and followed up on it. Or you get the source code, you know, and you actually dig into it and see what it's doing. Now, the company says they don't even gather racial data, right? And so that would be, you know, a point of evidence in the company's favor, right? All of these things, anytime you're assessing something as a critical thinker, you have to weigh the evidence for each side. This is how a critical thinker works. There's always a pro and con thing going on here. And so if the ProPublica company says, we don't even gather racial data, then, you know, we're not punching like the color of somebody's skin in there, then, you know, that's a bit of evidence in their favor, right? But then the ProPublica study says they turned up racial disparities. So it was more likely to falsely flag black defendants as future criminals, and white defendants were mislabeled as low risk more than black defendants. And so, how, right? And without having the source code, it can be hard to say. You know, you can guess, like you can do the stats, and stats can be used to figure out what's going on inside of a program sometimes, right? And so maybe it's the zip code where you live, and so if there are areas that have more black people in it than white people, and if it flags people from that zip code as a higher risk, then that could be how the bias is coming in, right? So this is going to be the next. They're not directly targeting black people with the conditions they're in, which does make it systematically racist. That's what this article is talking about. And so, whenever you read any news story, you should always be looking at it critically, right? Like, because one thing that I didn't see an answer to was, did they only consider people after they were released from jail? You know what I mean? Because if you're in jail, you're not going to be able to commit a violent crime, probably. I mean, I guess you could shank somebody, right? But in general, you're probably less likely to commit a violent crime if you're in prison. So I need to see the paper, right? You know what I mean? So I would, I don't know. I don't even know if they have the ProPublica people. I don't even know if they posted their data sets anywhere, right? So, let's do another example of this. How does a critical thinker work? So, Tesla COVID death. So this came out this week. So let's give you Yahoo. All right, here we go. So after Elon Musk, March 12th, so exactly a week ago today. All right. So after Elon Musk opened Tesla's Bay Area factory against local rules, 450 workers got COVID-19. Okay. So if we so we can let's go through this as critical thinkers, right? So here is Tesla's Fremont factory. They opened it in May of last year against the lockdown orders. And then from May to December, it recorded 450 COVID-19 cases. Okay. Around 450 of the 10,000 workers at the factory tested positive for COVID-19. However, the company's safety chief reported there have been 0 workplace transmissions. Okay. So pros and cons. What are the pros and what are the cons for Elon Musk opening the Tesla factory? What do you think? Type it into Discord chat. Let's try and analyze this. Let's look at some more. Let's look at the bullet points here. He opened them against the law. They reported 450 of the 10,000 workers getting sick. Alameda County previously refused to release the data. Elon Musk in a interview said, people are going to die sometimes, the county reversed course after Tesla sued them. Several employees tested positive for COVID-19, despite the company's claims there had been 0 workplace transmissions. What do you guys think? Pros and cons of Elon opening the Tesla factory. Pros, people get jobs, more jobs, faster production speed. Jobs, but in turn he's risking people to get COVID more. So the pro would be jobs, the con would be risk of COVID infections. Pros, everyone gets COVID. Pro, everyone gets COVID. Funny. Pro, people are receiving income from the job. Con, risk spread of virus. but lots of people got COVID, plus they spread it further. Con COVID spread. Trying to create herd immunity, but yeah, cons more COVID. Okay. What else? What else is there? There's more cars being made. Like, that's a positive, right? You know, electric vehicles, good for the environment, right? So, more Teslas there are out there, better the environment, I guess. And that's a whole thing too, the Asian violence right now. Cons, possible deaths, use COVID spread. Yeah, so you know, if you see if I can find it. So if we look at what people have said here, I thought Elon was in electric vehicles for the sake of humanity. It turns out he's just in it for a buck. I mean, what do you think a company is? You know. So that is. Oh, that's last year. Okay. All right. Let's see what other people are saying about it. All right. Typically, billionaires are going to be billionaires. What are a few lives lost in pursuit of even more money? When Swisher confronted Musk with the possibility people would still die in the process, he replied bluntly, everyone dies. The question is, what on balance serves the greater good? Adding the lockdowns and non-comp and the pandemic is a no-win situation. Just using compassion. So, obviously very critical of Elon. So, okay. So, San Mateo County has an infection rate of 5%. Of the Tesla employees, 4.5% of them got COVID. So, a lower percentage of Tesla employees got COVID than the general population. Interesting, right? So that's how critical thinking works, right? You have to weigh. So it's not just people dying versus making cars, or people getting sick versus people making cars. You also have to look at what would happen if they just stayed at home, right? And so, you know, 5.1% of people in San Mateo County have gotten sick with COVID-19. A lower percentage of that got sick from the people that worked at the Tesla factory. And so if this is true, which I have no idea if it is or not, if in fact zero COVID workplace transmissions took place, then, you know, they're actually less likely to get sick if they're working than not. You know what I mean? That's how critical thinking works, right? You have to not only weigh, okay, cars versus sick people, but like, what if they didn't go to work? You know, what then? Would none of them have got COVID? Probably not, right? Because people staying at home still get COVID, right? They'll go out to grocery stores and parks and things like that. Some of them will get sick, right? That's the same thing that like the COVID anti-vaxxers are fixating on, is like, you know, this woman got her vaccine and then 4 days later she died. It's like, well, would she have died without the vaccine? You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, somebody got the vaccine and then they died. Like, you know, especially with old people, you know, the first round of infections were in old people, and old people unfortunately die, you know, at a somewhat high rate. You know, once you're past 100, it's a coin flip. It's a 50-50 chance of dying every year once you're past 100. And so, you know, if you vaccinate somebody and a month later they die, it's like, all right, you can't just say they died because of the vaccine. You have to say, if they hadn't gotten the vaccine, what would have, if you vaccinate 10,000 old people, what percentage of them would have died without the vaccine? You know what I mean? And so that's the way that a critical thinker has to work. You have to think about all the different angles on it. And so this Yahoo News article here doesn't ask that question. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, how many of them would have gotten sick if they hadn't gone to work? Because if you can't compare that, then the whole thing's meaningless. And unfortunately, that's how most science reporting is. Most science reporting is garbage. Most reporting doesn't it's not rigorous enough. Okay. So 99% rate of recovery, still sucks to get sick, plus it's killed a lot of old people. Yeah, so two of my I was on Discord a couple nights ago, and two of my former students were like, yeah, I got COVID. They both lived, and they both were like, yeah, don't get COVID, it sucks. Like, one of them had diarrhea for 2 weeks straight. He's like, that was inconvenient for trying to do homework, and another one of my friends suffered neurological pain for 6 months. Like, wear your masks. So, yeah, they're like, get vaccinated, get your masks. But anyhow, so yeah, this is what we're going to be talking about starting next week. We're going to be talking about, this is a real social impact, right, of computer science. There is a program. The program is categorizing people as being high risk for violent crime, low risk for violent crime. And of the people predicted to be high risk for violent crime, only 20% of them went on to commit violent crimes. Maybe, right? Because again, I need to see their paper, and I don't have a link to their paper, so I don't know if their methodology is good or not, right? So a new arrest within 2 years. Okay. So what if they're in crime? What if they're in jail, right? I don't know. And what does a high risk mean? Does this mean 80% chance? Like I said, I don't know what this number means. Because it might be predicting, like, high risk might mean they have a 20% chance of committing a violent crime, right? High risk doesn't necessarily mean they're gonna do it. It's just a risk, And so that is, there's an equivocation fallacy going on there, right? They're saying 20% means the forecast was wrong. Maybe that's exactly what they're predicting. Without seeing what their methodology is, I can't tell if the prediction is accurate or not. So I really need to see, what was actually predicted, what was the actual outcome, and I need to see these people's data set as well. You know what I mean? So, all right. Once you take into account all crimes, including misdemeanors and, no, not traffic violations, misdemeanors, then 61% were rearrested in 2 years. Okay. So not a violent crime, but still committing a crime. The formula is particularly likely to falsely flag black defendants, like we talked about. Black defendants were, here we got numbers, good. Black defendants were 77% more likely to be pegged as a higher risk of committing a future violent crime, and 45% more likely to be predicted to commit a future crime of any kind. Reader analysis. Okay, maybe that is what I've been looking for. How we analyzed it. All right, cool. So I can go through that, and that's how I look at these stories. It's like, this is actually what I was looking for. Cool. So I can go through that and tell you, if, or you could tell me, because that mindset is what I'm trying to teach you guys, right? The mindset is like digging into it and doing a pro and con analysis of everything you read, basically, right? Learning to think critically about things. How does the program factor in the risk it creates by affecting their scores, chance, or deals? Yeah, it's a great question, right? the company wrote back, Northpoint does not agree with the results of your analysis or the claims being made. They do not disclose their calculations. And so you have judges literally sentencing people, to 8 years in prison based on a program they don't have the source code to. The company's just like, trust us that it's accurate, So here are the 137 questions they ask. Is this person a gang member? Based on the observations, yeah, that could be a problem, right? If the person administering the test is like, yeah, that person looks like a gang member to me, maybe that's a place where, some racism could sneak in, right? And then they punch in priors, violating parole, violating probation. Who raised you? One parent? Two parents? If you lived with both parents and they separated, how old were you? Was your mother ever arrested? Yeah. So if you're gonna be throwing people in prison longer, based on, because they're using this in their analysis, right? Based on if your parents were arrested, that has nothing to do with you, right? That has to do with your parents, right? Or your wife, or your brothers and your sisters, right? That could be the source of the algorithmic bias right there, right? Because that's not you. But if let's say that your family was, all arrested, then this program is going to spit out you're a higher risk, right? And so that is a problem for me, How many of your friends have been arrested? Are you a gang member? Have you ever been a gang member? Put down no for all of them. No, don't lie to the police. Do you think your current problems are partly because of alcohol or drugs? Yeah. How often have you moved? Did you complete high school? How often did you skip class? Do you have a job? Right? And so based on how you score this thing can rate you as a low risk and they let you go, or high risk and the judge throws out your plea deal and you get to go to jail for 8 years. So this might be the most important test a lot of these people have ever taken. So study hard for the test, right? So, so the survey asked defendants, were your parents ever sent to jail, right? And it asks questions like, a hungry person has the right to steal. Put down no. Study hard for that test, because that's 8 years of your life. You know what I mean? The ultimate test is the shopping cart litmus test. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So, people have been making a big deal out of the shopping cart thing. If computers could accurately predict who's going to be more likely to commit new crimes, the criminal justice system could be fairer, but you have to make sure the computer gets it right, So, And so if a judge is rejecting plea deals based on the test results, then that's a real life impact from computer science. Okay. So, that is going to be our next big topic in social issues in computer science. We'll dig more into that on Monday. Do you guys have any questions or comments about this? I'm gonna dig through this, or not through this, through their maybe I'll make you guys read through this. See if you can find out if their analysis holds up or not. Don't make me do stuff. Well, you have to. That's unfortunately that's the price of being a critical thinker. The price of being a critical thinker is when somebody tells you something like Elon Musk is killing his employees. It's like, okay, show me the evidence, right? And you actually have to do the work and not just read the headline, which is what most people do, right? You just read the headline and you're like, oh, I am so outraged right now, right? You have to, all right, what was the data? All right, cool. 450 people got coronavirus. How many of them died? Like, he didn't even mention that, right? The company claims there were no workplace transmissions, so it's possible they just picked them up from the community, which happens. Like, where is the evidence that Elon was killing people? That's what I'm ready to be outraged with you, but you need to give me enough evidence to convince me that something is the case. And unfortunately, most journalists don't do a very good job presenting their case. So, sensationalized headlines. I have a screenshot somewhere on my computer of back in January. The headline said, "Rich people skipping the line to get shots, to get the vaccine." I was like, oh, how dare you? So I click on it. I click on the headline that says, "Rich people skipping the line to get shots." I click on it, and the article that it was linked to said, "Rich people are trying to skip the line to get shots." I'm like, oh, how dare you? So I click on the reference that came from, and it said, "Rich people might try to skip the line to get shots." And I'm like, wait a second. Might try to... Wait, what? And then I click on that reference, and it's like, UCLA has a concierge medicine program. And concierge medicine means you get private attention from a doctor. You have your own spacious hospital rooms, things like that. It's very expensive. It's rich people medicine. And UCLA announced that even if you're part of concierge medicine, you don't get priority for a vaccine. And I was like, wait, what? I was so ready to get outraged, and it was just like each step that a journalist was quoting from another story made it seem worse and worse and worse. And I have the screenshot of that somewhere here where it's like, they are skipping the line. They want to skip the line. They could skip the line, and they're not skipping the line. It's like, it's like, that was front page. Like, that was a front page news story, So, I am constantly disappointed in headlines and news articles and things like that. So the downside of being a critical thinker is you actually have to click on the references and read through them. You know what I mean? But then if you do so, you're going to get a lot less, you're not going to get yanked around as much. So that's good. Those reporters are starving. Yeah. Social media in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah, and that's what they found about Facebook is that, let's see. Anyhow, in here it talks about how Facebook is driving outrage, because outrage creates engagement, and what Facebook cares about is engagement, and so Facebook will preferentially share stories that cause people to get outraged, and so so that's a good story too. So, like I said before, we're done with class, but like I said before, Facebook used to just show you everything your friends posted on their newsfeed. Then they implemented an algorithm that would select stories from your friends and put them up at the top, and they would select the stories they think would drive engagement, that would get you to like it or to respond to it. And what those stories tend to be are outrageous stories. People are skipping the line for vaccines. They're skipping the line. What? And then you type in angry. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. And nobody ever clicks on the link. Or if they click on the link, then they don't click on the link from the link. And if they click on that one, they don't click on the link to the link to the link that finds out that there is concierge medicine, but UCLA has no plans of letting people come in front of the line. So, but Facebook doesn't care because people just... and that's what Facebook wants. So Zuckerberg looks like an alien. Yeah, I mean, I like Commander Data from Star Trek, and he kind of reminds me of Commander Data. So, all right, well, that's it for today, guys. So your homework: 1 week Space Invaders. And then on Monday, you'll get your next social issue and computer science assignment. Until then, make sure you get your peer review done. The peer review is due on Monday. If you've written the essay and gotten 10 points already, and you don't do the peer review by Monday, that will go down to a 5. So make sure you do it. It's only a paragraph or 2. Okay. So when is spring break? I don't know, dude. Students always know holidays better than me. I'll just show up and start teaching, you know. All right. I'll check on the academic calendar for you guys. See you guys.